Chapter 13. Abby was surprised the first time Nadine Brannon placed an order with Garber Farm. Doubly surprised when she placed a second a couple of weeks later. Nadine had only recently begun hosting parties and charity events, primarily for guests from the Bay Area or the University Village up north. Hadley Chatter had it that her husband, Nathaniel Brannon, was spending much of his time in Keyserville after the purchase of two local farms, but Abby knew otherwise. Though their properties were close in proximity, just over the hill from each other with acres of shared land in between, there had never been the closeness neighbors in small towns often share. When Emmett Garber Sr. was still alive and struggling to keep the farm afloat, he and Alder Kimmon had no choice but to sell their portion of the land to the young Brannon family from Marin County. It was a price they couldn't refuse. They divided the surrounding forest in three, each remaining respectful of the borders of that land. The Brannons agreed to build on a fraction of it, keeping the rest wild and undeveloped, unlike other plots they'd purchased and expanded into corporate farms. Abby thought of Nadine from time to time over the years, not that they'd ever formally met, not that she'd ever be invited to any of Nadine's soirees, but like other townsfolk, she was curious about the inside of the Brannons' enormous house, and the only person she knew from the area who had been invited was Minerva Shaw. Opulent, Minerva told her over tea at Monarch Mansion one afternoon. Sprawling but tasteful, an ode to the American dream. The food was divine, the conversation quite over my head, but it was an invitation I simply couldn't refuse. I'm sure you'd find it just as enchanting if there wasn't that spot of bother. Abby knew all about the details of Nadine's bother. None of the locals gossiped, in front of her at least, beyond the fact that Nathaniel Brannon had possibly run away with another woman. Whether they knew the whole truth or not was none of Abby's concern. It was inevitable, anyway. Nathaniel had left his wife for Josie. Abby wondered if Nadine's interest in deliveries from the farm had something to do with exacting revenge on her spouse. But she decided not to question it. For the sake of her own brother's bit of bother, she was more than happy to deliver. Need some help? Anna asked, removing her shoes as she entered the kitchen, then heading over to the sink to wash away the Saturday farm work. Does it look that bad in here? It's impressive, which is a nicer way of saying yes. Last minute order again from that chef over there at Brannon's. Nothing to do but fill it fast and deliver it quick. Don't you need to change? Anna asked. Why? Your dinner at that Bracken. You're having dinner with Will tonight, right? Oh, that, Abby exclaimed, her heart suddenly racing. I forgot about it for a moment. You should fancy it up. Fancy it? Get fancy, gussy up, tip it out, as Rye always says, which translates to doing your hair and wearing pointier shoes, I think. Not to blow his cover or anything, but it's pretty much a date. It's just a quick dinner. He said it's a thank you. It's a meeting, said Emmett, flinging the back door shut as Dolly whimpered out on the porch. He likes what we've got so far, so it's more a case of selling our product and not debating what to wear. Don't forget to mention the heirloom pumpkins coming up, or the barley wine. I know, Abby said. I'm the one who makes it every year. Think I've done well enough so far. Yep, you're doing something all right, Emmett said. I was planning on washing up and throwing a sweater over these jeans. No! Anna and Emmett sputtered in unison. You're representing the farm, said Emmett. And it's a good excuse to wear something from the back of your closet, Anna added. Fine, but did you realize I have to deliver all this and be back before 6? We can deliver it, right, Emmett? Anna asked, but he did not answer. I've got it. I can go to dinner as is. It's not a big deal. We'll do it, Emmett said. Are you sure? I said we'll do it. Emmett and Abbott exchanged one of their looks that Anna still couldn't decipher. It wasn't in their nature to say so, but they'd always wanted each other to be happy. For Emmett, that meant moving on from the night he lost his love, and for Abby, it meant having the courage to find hers. You can drop it all at the back entrance with someone from the event staff, said Abby, opening the oven and pulling out 2 loaves of bread that filled the kitchen with the scent of sweet citrus and cloves. Fine. You won't see her. She rarely comes in the kitchen. Despite the business she's given us, I still think those people are ruining this town, and if he steps 1 foot out of that house, so help me I will. Emmett, said Abby, resting the loaves on top of the stove. He's not going to be there. She mentioned he's out of the country for a while, so just pull around to the back, knock on the side door, and hand off the boxes. Quick and easy. I'll invoice you everything later. Whatever you say. And take a deep breath. She probably doesn't want to see you either. It was a quiet ride out of Garber Farm. Emmett accelerated down Crescent Lane, driving faster than usual, whipping the truck around the curve of the hill as they passed fewer and fewer glowing porches, the farmland giving away to the coast. Is that it? Anna said, clinging to the window and straining her eyes to take in the sea. Sure is. Much better in the day. He paused. Have you not been out there yet? Nope. Cooped up on the farm or inside the hollowed halls of Hadley High, boss. But holy wow, even just watching it whir by is outstanding. Emmett suddenly pulled off the road and turned back around. The truck bounced up and down as he drove along a rough paved path that soon gave way to sand. There it is, he said. Wow, it's endless. Why are you sitting in here? Get out there and dig your feet in for a minute. Anna creaked open the van door and climbed down, landing on the soft sand. The beach stretched out for miles in either direction. It was a treacherous coast, she thought, the waves rolling in with a whoosh and a crash and exploding farther away against the walls of jagged cliffs. This is unreal. I know it's brisk tonight, Emmett said, but when it's warm, there's nothing better than burying your toes in the sand. Do you come out here often? She said, stepping back from the incoming waves. I used to all the time. I still drive by, but I haven't set foot in the sand in well over a year. They stood there watching the waves roll in and out, the water shimmering in the moonlight in the distance. What happened to her? Anna asked. Who? She hesitated. Your wife, Josie. Emmett put his hands in his pockets of his coat and looked up at the sky. She left, he said, clearing his throat. Nothing more or less. Said she never figured out who she was and wanted to set herself free. Free from what? Me, mostly. Had you been together a long time? Yep, she was out of high school. Abby's year. I was already working the farm, and we've all known one another since we were kids. Anna didn't know if she could ask any more questions, but she wanted to know more. Man, we used to have fun out here, he continued. Used to ride our trucks in the dunes, build big old bonfires near the cliffs, and just stay out here all night talking, laughing, being stupid. Thing is, I never thought there was anything wrong with all this. Thought our life was nice, simple. Hell, I thought we'd have kids and all that, but Josie never wanted them. I think she just didn't want me. No offense, but Josie sounds like an ungrateful jerk. I made it as half laugh, half snort. She is complicated. How much time do we have left? Anna asked. A couple minutes. Whenever you're ready. Anna bent down and began unlacing her boots. She pulled off her socks and sank her feet into the cold sand. Unfreaking real, she said. She wriggled her toes in and out of the sand and walked further down towards the waves, debating whether or not to stick a toe into the receding water. Water's cold, Emmett said, coming up to stand next to her in his own bare feet. But you might as well do it if you're here. Anna took a few steps forward, while Emmett stayed back. The water crashed away from her before another wave rolled in, and though she wanted to run, she forced herself to hold steady as the chill rolled right over her feet. Darkness surrounded them, both from the edge of the forest on one side of the road and the expanse of ocean on the other. The truck rambled on before making a sharp turn down Tidal Road. I'll help you carry some of the boxes to the door, Emmett said with a stitch of concern unraveling the corners of his mouth, but I'll leave you to do the knocking and conversing with whoever answers. Is there anything else? Like what? I don't want to presume, but it feels like there's something about this place that unhinges you. Unhinges? Ruffles, unnerves, tears open, makes you want to rip things apart. I don't know, you seem angry. It's nothing, Emmett mumbled. Just look at this place. They drove through heavy iron gates and up on one-lane road dappled with light from the house in the distance, and as they got closer, the road brightened and gave way to the circular driveway, fanning out like an upside-down smile in front of an enormous house ablaze in lights, its multiple chimneys pumping plumes of smoke into the night. It's a monstrosity, Emmett said as they passed the driveway, and turned down a smaller road towards the back of the house. No one needs a house this size. It's grotesque, but kind of in a compelling way, Anna said, staring up at the height, which she imagined must be 3 stories, wondering which window was Cole's. There were several cars parked in an adjacent lot, but Emmett bypassed it and pulled in a near and side entrance per Abby's instructions. Let's make this quick, he said, jumping out the truck. Emmett stacked the heaviest boxes and crates on a wooden bench near the door while Anna kept the flower bundle and fruit box in hand, not wanting anything to crush them. He instructed her to wait to knock until he was back in the truck, so she did, watching as he pulled up the collar of his coat and switched on the stereo. She didn't expect the door to swing open as quickly as it did. A petite woman in a tight but tasteful dress standing there, her dark hair swept up and away from her face, presumably to show off crimson lips and ears dwarfed by diamonds. "What are you doing out here?" she asked with a terse smile. "Come in immediately." Anna turned to motion to Emmett, but only the back of his head was visible through the truck window, the sounds of Bruce Springsteen drowning out any chance of shouting for his attention. And Anna followed the woman into a small room painted a seagull gray. Rows of shoes and boots lining the floor, dozens of coats hanging along the wall. Above them, she couldn't help but notice the pairs of muddy racing boots and motocross gear that had been given its own dedicated corner. "Right this way," the woman directed. They made their way through a small hallway, Anna's shoes squeaking among the shiny hardwood floors until they reached the largest kitchen she'd ever seen, aside from the high ceilings and chandelier. A chandelier in a kitchen? There were marble countertops, walls of cabinets, and multiple ovens currently being tended to by a bearded man dressed all in white. "That's Pascal," the woman said, pointing to the man in the pristine apron and hat. "He'll set you up and get you out on the floor. We're serving soon, so if you can just change immediately, that'd be wonderful." "But I have the delivery from Garber Farm." "Excellent! So glad you finally dropped it off. Just set it down here, and one of the kitchen staff can help you bring it and the rest. Again, if you can't change right here, please," she said, indicating one of the several doors. "There are uniforms and a place for you to hang your clothes. You can start with a tray of canapes. Pass around to the guests in the study, please." Anna watched as the woman breezed out one of the kitchen doors, the clicking of her pointy beige heels fading away, along with a cloying perfume neither floral nor powdery, more an exotic blend of black musk. Anna set the box on the counter. "Excuse me," she said to the man in the hat, who put up a hand as if to say, "Wait," his other hand pulling fresh rolls from the oven. "Journal?" he said to a slender man, using tweezers to place microgreens on small squares of gelatinous substance. The man looked at Anna, clinking the tweezers down on the marble. "I'm here with a delivery from Garber Farm," she said, "but the woman and I said I'm supposed to get changed. I have no idea what she's talking about." He rolled his eyes and leaned in. "Mrs. Brannan thinks everyone here is some sort of help," he said in an indeterminable accent while inspecting the box on the counter. "Ah, fantastic, Pascal. All is good," he said, turning to the man at the oven and then back to her. "You have other boxes?" "They're out the door." "I get them in a minute. Can you take that box to the pantry for me on the way out?" "Sure. Wait, who do she think I was?" He shrugged his shoulders. "Wait staff, cleaning, dog sitting, all of the above?" He went back to his work, so Anna picked up the box and made her way out of the kitchen, mentally kicking herself for not changing out of her farm clothes before they left the house. She opened a door to head back down the way she came, but found herself in a different hallway altogether. Not wanting to bother anyone back inside the kitchen, she continued walking, figuring the pantry must be behind one of the several doors lining the hall. There was a humming noise coming from further down, so she followed it to one of the doors, choosing the larger of the two, which she pushed open gently with her foot. "That's the laundry room," said a voice behind her. "The kitchen is over." She turned around, startled. "Hi," she said, glass jars in the box wobbling. "Hi," he responded with confusion. "Why are you always sneaking up on me?" "I'm not. This is my house. What are you doing here?" "I'm making a delivery, but got lost in your castle." Cole's face broke into a faint smile, his eyes intense. An old soul, she thought. "This is so weird, seeing you in my house. You haven't really spoken to me much at school." "I know, it's even weirder for me. Your mom seems in control of the party." "You met my mom?" Again, his face shifted. Anna couldn't tell if it was assumed horror or composed rage. "I did. She asked me to put on a uniform." "She what?" It was definitely composed rage, Anna decided. Cole looked down the empty hallway and then walked past her and pushed open the door leading into the laundry room, holding it open for her to follow him in. For some reason, her feet shuffled forward, even though her head shouted that she needed to go, needed to get back to Emmett and the truck. "Cole, I've got to." "Wait," he whispered before shutting the door, taking the box from her and putting it up on the counter. They stood in the bright white room, a washing machine moaning between them, neither one of them saying anything. "My mother told you to put on a uniform?" he asked, his voice teetering on the edge of explosion. Yes. I'm confused, though as you can see, I'm also wearing a uniform."